Several members of two state subcommittees expressed their concern about whether Virginia should take over a proposed site for a coal facility in Portsmouth. One member, Delegate Robert Washington, saying as it stands now, there isn't nearly enough information to go on.
For example, no engineering nor economic feasibility studies have been completed as yet. It will take 6 months or more to complete those particular studies.
The two House and Senate measures would give the state the right to condemn the Portsmouth land site and would authorize the appropriations of funds so the state could pay the courts for the land, now in litigation in a lawsuit between Norfolk and Western Railway and Cox Enterprises. Washington says the legislation could be passed, but only with modifications.
It would be possible for us to enact amended legislation that would make approval of the proposed action contingent upon completion of satisfactory preliminary studies.
The plans as of now, he says, are too vague.
Governor Dalton's proposals at this point are so unclear that no one knows precisely what is being advocated.
Another key spokesman, Joel Price, a researcher for an investment firm, also has concerns about sinking millions of dollars into a coal facility at a time when Poland and Australia are on strike. Later on, the demand for American coal could decrease, a temporary bubble, he says, that could burst. The full House of Appropriations will meet with Price next week in Richmond. Penny Williams, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Portsmouth. The Virginia Port Authority's plans call for Norfolk and Western to haul its coal up this line, and for CSX, formerly the Chesapeake and Ohio and the Seaboard Coast Railway, to haul coal up this line, both lines to meet at the community of Boone. The new proposed rail line would then run from Boone to the proposed coal side area, a plan that Executive Director of the VPA, Bobby Bray, says would work economically and cause little environmental damages to such areas as Churchland.
It will certainly minimize the impact on Churchland because all of the crossings of the railroad will either have the roads themselves go over the railroad or the railroad go over the roads, and it will also, to every extent possible, skirt the residential and commercial areas.
Or would it? Not according to the chairman of the Coal Committee, Robert Wentz.
The VPA has said a lot of things, and at this point their credibility is rather low. My findings show that the basic thing is that economically, the feasibility of building the terminal that would be environmentally acceptable and the rail line to be environmentally acceptable would be prohibitive. I am told the coal dust, the runoff from the open storage that's proposed, the obvious noise and congestion from the trains is a prohibiting factor in a substantial residential neighborhood.
3 private railroads have offered proposals the VPA hasn't even considered. Penny Williams, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Portsmouth. Members of the Portsmouth City Council listened to a report about the potential hazards a proposed coal facility would cause the city by the head of the Portsmouth Coal Committee, Robert Wentz. First of all, he said, Portsmouth could lose valuable tax dollars.
I think that the probability of a equitable arrangement on taxes for the city on this is going to be very hard to come by, and I'm sure every member of the council is aware of that.
Wentz said the Virginia Port Authority has been too vague in pointing out the benefits of the facility.
We seem to be getting a lot of comments as what this benefit is, but we have never seen an authentic, documented source as to the basis on which this was based.
The executive director of the Virginia Port Authority, Bobby Bray, said earlier the state-owned facility would be economically and environmentally sound.
It will certainly minimize the impact on Churchland because all of the crossings of the railroad will either have the roads themselves go over the railroad or the railroad go over the roads, and it will also, to every extent possible, skirt the residential and commercial areas.
But Wentz told council members the proposed rail line would cause traffic tie-ups and pollution. Council heard recommendations that they should arrange for a public hearing on the matter before anything definite is decided. Penny Williams, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Portsmouth.
It's somewhat ironic because Portsmouth doesn't want the coal pier built on this refinery site, while Suffolk is begging the state to build the facility just west of the General Electric plant. But Virginia Port Authority officials say there are problems with the Suffolk location, and since the coal companies are opposed to the Suffolk site, it just won't fly.
Because they're the people that ultimately got to pay for it through user charges or leases or whatever.
The problem with the Suffolk site becomes fairly apparent by looking at this map. Here's the proposed site in Portsmouth, where the channel is 45 feet deep, which is what the ships need in order to dock right at the site. But in Suffolk, the water isn't deep enough, so the ships would have to dock here, almost in Newport News. And then a 4-mile conveyor belt would have to be constructed to get the coal to the ships from the Suffolk site. And the cost of that conveyor belt could run upwards of $80 million.
I would not argue with that, but there are alternatives to that. And more feasible, I think, is simply to dredge a channel into the site.
House says since the refinery site will have to be dredged to clear away debris, the state could as easily dredge the Suffolk location to 45 feet in order to accommodate the coal ships. But dredging this site in Suffolk to make it deep enough so that the colliers can dock right here will cost at least $25 million, compared to an expected $5 million dredging cost on the refinery site. And because of that $20 million difference, the coal port will ultimately end up in Portsmouth instead of here in Suffolk. Mike Deason, Area 10 Eyewitness News.